Two of boxing's biggest stars are on a collision course. May 31st, they'll show out on the same card as Caleb Plant looks to dominate Armando Rosendez, and Jermall Charlo returns against Thomas Lamana. Saturday, May 31st, streaming free for Prime members on Prime Video.
Fight Help TV here with Coach Ronnie Shields. Coach Ronnie, fresh off a big win tonight. Talk to us about your guy. What's it looking like?
It's looking great, man. Joshua Edwards he's a pleasure to work with, man. He's as you can see, he's a really good fighter. You know, represented the U.S. in the Olympics. He won the Pan Am Games. You know, so good guy, man, and he listens to everything. That's what makes it so easy to work with him. He tries everything I tell him to try. He said, "Man, you got me fighting like a flyweight." I said, "That's right."
Coordinated, fast. Combinations. We saw a lot of things with him. Is he just naturally gifted, or is he a try-hard guy? Is he working hard?
Both. It's both. But he's really naturally gifted. You know, this kid, man, he catches on really quick, you know, and he's not afraid to throw punches. So, you know, that's a recipe for success.
Talking about not being afraid to throw punches, your old pupil is back in action. Jermall Charlo back tomorrow versus Thomas Lamana. What do you think about Charlo at this point in his career? Naturally, he's not with you right now. You guys have kind of parted ways, but tell us about that.
Well, you know, he just wants to do something different. So, you know, when a guy gets a certain age, they start wanting to do different things. So, you know, with me, the train don't stop. I'm still rolling.
What do you think about his upcoming bout versus Lamana? What does he got to do to be successful? You know him better than most do.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he has one of the best jabs in the sport. He has to use that to set up everything else. You know, I don't know what he's been doing, but, you know, hopefully he have a lot of success.
You know a lot about his temperament and his heart. What makes him special in those categories?
Oh, I mean, he loves boxing. He loves to work, and you know, and the bigger the fight, the better it is for him. So he gets up for big fights.
Talking about getting up for big fights, Caleb Plant, Rosendez, with Charlo waiting in the wings for the winner. Obviously, everybody thinks it's Caleb Plant. What do you think about Caleb Plant and Rosendez?
Yeah, that's going to be a good fight, but I think Caleb Plant wins. You know, Caleb Plant is a really good fighter, man. I really respect everything that he does, and you know, he tries really hard, and you know, he's always in shape. So I know Caleb is going to bring it.
Those two eliminate their guys. They come together sometime maybe late this year, early next year. What kind of fight can we expect with Morrell Charlo versus Caleb Plant? They've had their issues in the past with the slap and the war words.
Right.
I mean, there's been so much animus between those two. What do you think happens when they finally get together?
Well, you know, I think, you know, the fight is going to be built up good. So, but look, it's a good fight. It's a tough fight for both guys. You know, it's not an easy fight for either one of them. So I think whoever handled it, the pressure better, is going to win the fight.
David Morrell Jr., your guy as well, stood up against tremendous pressure versus David Benavidez. Came up short in his first loss at the biggest, highest level. What can you tell us about David Morrell right now?
Well, you know, David is back, man. He's training hard every day. You know, we talked about the Benavidez fight. He knows some of the things that he didn't do. So, you know, and, you know, David, man, I just love this kid. You know, he works really hard, you know, and he understands now when you're fighting different people that has a lot of experience, you know, what you have to do. So he understands that now, and I'm looking forward to his next fight, which is on July 12th in New York, and you know, he's training hard.
Who's the opponent? Do you have an opponent?
Yes, I can't think of the name.
You can't tell you the name yet. It's
I have the
secret.
name.
A little bit of a secret.
No, it's not a secret.
Okay.
I have the name, but
okay.
I just, you know, it's a Russian kid that lives in California.
Ah, Russian guy that lives in California.
Yes.
We got to look that name up. But
yes.
So back in action, David Morrell Jr. is.
Yes.
What's the expectation for the fight for him coming up?
Well, you know, just to get him back, and you know, he's fighting an undefeated guy. There's, you know, like 10 wins, nine knockouts. You know, so it's not easy. You know, they're not putting him in easy. You know, so David has to work for everything. So, and he's willing to do it. So, you know, we're coming up with a great game plan, we're looking forward to the fight, and we're looking forward to David getting back in the win column.
Crazy news out of the boxing world. We know Manny Pacquiao coming back to fight the WBC welterweight champion of the world, Mario Barrios. What do you think about Manny Pacquiao? We're going to have a press conference with him in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, why these guys want to come back, I don't understand it. You know, it should be, I mean, I just don't understand it. You know, he's what, 47 years old?
46 years old, going on 47.
Yeah. You know, for what, man? I mean, maybe these guys didn't take care of their money. You know, he made a lot of money, so maybe they didn't take care of his money, why he has to come back. But, you know, I think it should be a limit. They should limit guys coming back at a certain age.
To fight at a certain level or just
That's
period?
right, at a certain level. I mean, look, he's come back. They ranked him number 5 in the world. Why he deserved that, I don't know. You know, what you tell the other guys that was ranked number 5? Are we pushing you back? So that means everybody got to be pushed back to make room for Manny. You know, is it fair? No, it's not. You know, he had his time. You know, he was a good champion. He was a good fighter. But to come back and just jump ahead of everybody else, it's not fair.
And then you don't, and danger aside, we haven't even really talked about the danger of fighting a guy nearly 20 years younger in Mario Barrios. A lot of people are compelled about the fight because they think that Barrios is rather flat-footed. And one thing you can't be versus Manny Pacquiao is flat-footed. Do you think that that's something that gives him a chance?
But that's the old Manny Pacquiao. You know, we don't know what the new Manny Pacquiao is. You know, he's 46 years old, and we don't know what kind of speed he has. We don't know anything right now until we see the fight. But still, if something happens to Manny Pacquiao, then what?
And that's the bigger point.
Absolutely.
That there still is that apparent and that clear and apparent danger that comes with stepping between the ropes.
Absolutely.
There will be no quarter ass or no quarter giving.
Absolutely. You know, and you know, hope you're not underestimating Barrios, because Barrios is a good fighter. That's why he's champion of the world. And you know, anything can happen in that ring. And to come back at 46 years old, you know, I think it's too much.
We've got a young Japanese fighter right now fighting for his life, injured badly May 24th on the pro box card in Japan.
Yes.
Our prayers go out to him and his family.
Absolutely.
Definitely a dangerous time, and always a dangerous time to box.
Absolutely.
Got to be prepared. You never know what can happen.
You never know.
Coach, lastly, I want to ask you, we've got Crawford, Canelo. Just got signed. Looks like it's really going to happen. September 13, Allegiant Stadium out here in Las Vegas. What are your first thoughts on the matchup?
I really, really like this matchup. And I really like Crawford in the fight. I think with the experience Crawford has, and he can fight orthodox and southpaw, you know, he can give Canelo a lot of problems. You know, Crawford is young enough to where he can get out of the way of shots. He's fast enough and very smart. So I'm picking Crawford in this fight.
A lot of people made a lot of comments in the commentary. You've heard the pundits talking about Canelo Alvarez looking like he may have lost a step versus his last opponent. What did you think about the Williams-Skull fight? Did you think that it was Canelo was to blame, or that simply it takes two to tango?
Look, it does. It takes two to tango. You can't blame everything on Canelo. School didn't want to fight. Simple as that. He ran the whole night. You can't win a fight like that, you know. But at the same time, Canelo been in his business a very long time. Didn't cut off the ring, you know. He didn't show his skills, you know. And, you know, I go back to when I was training Alexander Laurel, and he fought Laurel. And, you know, everybody, we all thought Laurel won at that time. Canelo didn't know how to cut off the ring then. And it don't seem like he still don't know how to cut off the ring. So, but, you know, he was frustrated by the way School was fighting. And, you know, I can't blame him for being frustrated. But still, you know, you're a professional. You have to cut the ring off, make these guys fight. And he didn't do that.
And, you know, when we talk about Canelo and Canelo's camp, word this weekend, Jaime Munguia, who just had vindication from his first KO loss, ends up popping hot for steroids today. B sample is on the way. What were your first thoughts when you heard that news?
Yeah, I say I'm gonna just wait for the B sample, you know, and we'll see. We'll see. But, you know, if Munguia took anything, man, I mean, he's a skilled fighter. He didn't need to do that. If he did, and if he did, he should get suspended for it. If he didn't, then it was a false sample. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
A couple of days ago, I spent some time with Teofimo Lopez. We had a pretty long conversation, and in that conversation, he let me know that he had the fight with Devin Haney in his hands. He made a tweet out to Turki Al-Rashid. He made a derogatory comment toward him, and the fight was snatched away from him just like that. One, what do you think about the fight being taken away? And two, the matchup, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, what kind of fight would that have been?
I think it would have been a great fight. I mean, it really would. I don't think Devin would have fought him the way he fought his last fight. I think Devin would have tried to, stand up to Teofimo a little more than he did in his last fight. But as far as the fight being canceled, sometimes we say things that hurts us, and seemed like that's what it did against Teofimo. And, I'm sure he regrets it now, but, he need to fix it. He need to call Turki and apologize and be a man. That's what a man does.
Kind of one of those things in business where if you just got a new job, maybe,
Yeah, but look, it depends on how he apologizes, if he apologizes, and maybe. But I think that's a good fight that people would really want to see. So, you got to be a man and say, look, man, I'm sorry, I was hot-headed, blah blah blah, whatever it was that made him say what he said. You need to apologize, and I'm sure Turki's a man here. Go back, take another look at it, and see if it's worth fighting.
How much of a threat do you see Teofimo Lopez being to Devin Haney, especially with Devin Haney that we just saw?
Yeah, I mean, Teofimo is a threat to anybody because he can really fight. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. He's a really good fighter. So Devin would definitely have his hands full. So, but all in all, though, I think it's a great fight.
Lastly, for me, Coach, crazy fight kind of came out of nowhere. Jake Paul, Chavez Jr. What are your thoughts on Chavez Jr. stepping back in the ring? We've seen his marred checkered past before. A lot of guys claim that he's back ready to go, but a lot of people are just saying that's just the money bell ringing.
I think it's the money bell ringing. Chavez Jr. to me isn't a great fighter at all. Not even a good fighter to me. He's okay, but Jake Paul isn't nothing to brag about either. So Chavez, with the experience that he's had in the ring, should be enough for him to win. But it depends on if he even trained for the fight.
So you don't really think that a lot of people have been saying that maybe Chavez Jr. might be stepping into the danger zone as the pedestrian that he has appeared to be in the most recent years with boxing. We've seen him training on sidewalks and things of that sort. On the contrast, we've seen Jake Paul again and again and again pushing himself, working with Coach Larry Wade, one of the most accomplished strength and conditioning coaches, one of the most no-nonsense guys.
Right.
He's got a no-nonsense team. Do you think that there's a danger for Chavez Jr. in this fight?
Well, there's always a danger when you get in there and you don't put your body in the shape that you're supposed to put it in. Chavez has been a fighter before, and he's fought, good fights before. But, haven't seen him in a while. So we don't know what we're getting, and that could be a danger to him.
One more thing, touching back on the Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez actually was rumored to be fighting Boots Ennis. That was another kind of thing. There was two things that were kind of lingering there. Word out of the first preliminary camp words from Teofimo Lopez is that it was turned down by Ennis for one reason or another. Nobody knows the exact circumstances. But let's just talk about the fight. What did you think Teofimo Lopez in a Boots Ennis fight looks like here in Las Vegas?
Man, Boots, I don't see Teofimo beating Boots. I think Boots should have been too big and too skilled. Teofimo has a lot of skills, but Boots definitely a bigger man anyway, and such a skilled fighter, man. And I think it's a distance fight, but I would have to go with Boots Ennis.
Lastly, a rematch. Tank Davis, Lamont Roach. No, we're asking a lot, Coach, but just like boxing, you know how boxing is. It'll be calm as a tumbleweed blowing through the desert, and all of a sudden it'll be a hurricane. You just never know what happens. We're in the middle of what looks like the beginning of a hurricane in boxing, but let's talk about that for a second. What do you think about it?
Well, I think going back to the first fight, I don't think Tank really took Lamont Roach serious. But I think this fight, he will take it serious. And the Tank that we all know would definitely be in the rematch. And I don't know if Tank can knock him out. Roach seems to, his skills are really good. But I just think when Tank put that pressure on him, it's going to be enough for him to outpoint him. I don't see him knocking him out. Roach's his defense was really, really good the last fight. And I can't see Tank doing anything more as far as throwing punches. But I think he'll throw more punches. But I just think Roach will get out of the way a lot of the hard shots. He knows Tank right now. He knows everything about him. Tank can't change anything but get in better shape.
Well, Coach, wasn't it quite fascinating, the level and the speed of the high level and the high speed chess that was played by both guys? Each guy setting, one guy makes a move, the next guy makes a counter move. They kept up with each other at such a blistering pace. What do you expect for the second fight? The same thing, or do you expect a more calculated, cerebral matchup?
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. But I think this time, though, Tank will have to set traps. You have to set traps to get him in the corner to where he can't move, can't go anywhere, or get him on the ropes to where he can do some damage on the ropes. He has to set traps for Roach. He can't do what he did last time. Definitely.
Whatever we got it, Coach. I mean, there's just so many things I could go on. I could mention Keyshawn Davis, another guy.
Yeah.